Recently I went to Texas and I came back with a little saison that I'm going to try and steal the yeast from to maybe make a little clone beer later. So I'm gonna have popped it open, and that beer I drank. It was delicious, but I left a little bit in the bottle there so that I could steal some of the yeast dregs from this bottle. The best way I've found to clean the inside of my flask is use my paper towel trick. And then of course make sure that your flask is sanitized also. Right here I'm using some fast pitch canned wort from Northern Brewer. From here on out I'm going to be using Proper Starter made by Omega Yeast Labs. I just kind of thought y'all should know that. A lot of people think when you use canned wort that you have to boil the water that you use first, but that's not true. If you use distilled water, you can cut out that whole entire step. I always try to pour my yeast in a way where it doesn't sit on the side of the flask, and that right there is another perfect pour. This will be propagation 1 of 2 before brew day. Alright, so this is the start of propagation number 2. I put the flask into the fridge for 2 or 3 days to kind of condense the yeast. I didn't really want to put it in the fridge because if there's any Brettanomyces, it's kind of hard to rouse it back to life, but I figured that the beer was already in the refrigerator at one point in time anyway, so we are proceeding. So after we kind of have everything sanitized, I just went ahead and I decanted the top of the yeast starter off so that I could just leave a little bit of the starter and the slurry down at the bottom there. Shake it up to get it all loosened up. And I dumped it into that jar, which is going to go right back into the flask once I get my other starter set up. I do have aspirations of trying to clone a Jester King beer from the dregs from that bottle, so stay tuned and see if I can pull it off. Watch this absolute perfect yeast pour right here. Blam! So this is propagation number 2. I can already tell that it's a lot more cloudy than the first one was, and this should have quite a bit more yeast in it. So the first starter, I went about 5 days to try to get some more Brett activity, and then the second starter, I let go for my standard 2 days. My dad always tells me that I talk too much, but there was a nice long section here of no talking, and I thought that you would rather hear my voice than the weird Apple stock simple themed music that I had in the background. So, you're welcome, I think. Be sure to always leave your caps a little bit loose, especially with things like this that have lacto in it. And this is the end result, some happy propagated yeast ready for brew day.